The Blueprint Podcast is on the road in Tuscaloosa today, hanging out with one of our favorite places to eat with one of our favorite greats, Bob Baumhower. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us
here. Good to see
you.
Oh, it's great having you here.
Now, we are at the location. Now, whenever I went to school at Alabama, this was called Campus Drive, but now it's like the corner of what? Harper Lee?
Harper Lee. This is, we're at 500 Harper Lee Drive.
Okay, so it's a new place, and you guys are just opening this up. So how many restaurants total do you have now? Because now you got this fancy place that I see everyone posting pictures of in Mobile.
Dolphins, like Dolphin Island, spelled the French way.
Okay.
And that's on the 34th floor of the Trustmark building in downtown Mobile.
So Aloha Hospitality has how many restaurants?
Oh, we are at 11 right now, and we've got a couple more coming on the board.
Yeah. Is life good for Bob Baumhower?
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, you enjoying all this?
Yeah, I still enjoying it. Right. And we originally opened this location in 1995 as our first prototype.
Really?
Yeah, and this was, I got into the business full time in '88, and we went into existing restaurants that had closed and just adapted. And this was the first one that we did as a prototype where there were architects and designers involved. And we were here 21 years, closed it for a while, opened a new location on the south side of town, and our landlord, great guy here in Tuscaloosa, we got together and decided to renovate this location, and we opened yesterday.
Wow, that's awesome.
Reopened yesterday.
So the next time you come to next season for all the Bama games, you'll want to stop by. And this is a fantastic location. Very cool. Let me, I assume everyone knows you, but just in case they don't, Bob Baumhower, an All-American at Alabama under Coach Bear Bryant in the mid-'70s?
Mid-'70s, 73 to, I finished the spring of 77.
Okay, played for Coach Bryant, not a bad head coach to play for. Then went to play for the Miami Dolphins, an All-Pro there for how many seasons?
10 seasons.
10 seasons under another pretty good football coach.
Pretty good. Still the only professional head coach to go undefeated, and I believe Coach Shula is still the winningest coach of all time in pro football.
Do you realize how blessed you were to play for those two incredible leaders? I mean, those are truly, Bob, those are two legendary all-time coaches.
I agree. And Coach Bryant changed my life. I didn't have a vision or direction really from a football point of view or from a, let's just say, development point of view. I had great parents, great family life, but Coach Bryant and then Coach Ken Donahue, Coach Goose Tree, a lot of those guys from back in the day, you remember them. They helped turn the light on for me, gave me a vision and a goal and or several goals that are still with me, and it's just amazing.
I've interviewed you a couple different times. You have some of my stories of your life that are my favorite. One is the time. Now, I think you thought you were going to quit football?
I did quit.
You
quit. I quit.
And tell that story about...
Well, what happened is I came to Alabama. I came to university, like I told you, with not a whole lot of I didn't have a plan. The way Coach Bryant would put it, I did not have a plan for myself. So I come here, and I'm getting by. And they moved me to defense, which I wanted them to do spring of my freshman year, and I had a good spring. Worked my way up, and was a starter in the spring game and did well. And pretty much thought I had arrived, and was looking forward to starting my sophomore season. And didn't do a whole lot my sophomore season from a conditioning or preparation point of view. When I got to camp, it showed. And when I got my jersey color, I don't remember, it was brown or orange or some crazy color that denoted that I was way down the list.
Not starter, yeah.
After 3 days of that, I said, you know what, I got things done this spring. I don't need this. Somebody's playing games with me. I quit. And Coach Bryant got word that he wanted to see me and my dad in his office that afternoon. Still 2 days. And that meeting changed my life. And first thing he did when he saw me, he says, what are you doing here? After being really nice to my dad, I said, I heard you want to talk to me. And he goes, well, I don't talk to quitters, but since you're here, sit your butt down in the couch. So I
I
sat
don't
down in
talk
the
to
famous
quitters.
couch. Oh yeah, he made me look at myself for what I was,
Mm-hmm.
and the question that he asked me that sticks with me to this day and really made an impact on me. He says, "What did you do over the summer to get better?" And then he went down a list of all of these players that had reported to camp and had noticeable improvement because of their preparation, named them by name, you know, and whether it was losing weight or that they got stronger or faster or quicker, whatever. He knew everything they had done to get better. Coach Bryant knew more about his players than anybody I've ever seen, you know, and Coach Saban seems to have that same mindset, but that changed my life, and I wanted to come back and prove him wrong that I wasn't a quitter. Came back. I was playing for Coach Ken Donahue, who just went into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame with Goose Tree this year, and I was determined, and I had a plan for myself. Wanted to be the best I could be, and it's still with me.
Yeah, and then. So your junior, senior year really is whenever it really kind of took off for you. You get drafted by the Dolphins.
Right.
If you can kind of compare, you're now a CEO, and I want to get back to how you got into this, but quickly, just from a leadership standpoint, handicap from a leadership standpoint, Coach Bryant and Coach Shula, and what they taught you that comes in handy as you run Hospitality Incorporated.
Well,
Hospitality.
Coach Bryant was all about having a plan for yourself.
Okay.
That was number one. You had to know where you wanted to go, and you had to have a destination, and then you had to integrate that into the team piece, and you had to have the discipline, you had to have the commitment, you had to be willing to sacrifice if that's what it took to meet your goals, and he was great at that. And then he was also he made you believe that you could be part of something much bigger if you would take care of business with yourself and work the plan and prepare. And he made you feel like you had a responsibility to your teammates and the fans and your mom and dad, everybody, to be the best you could be. You wanted to be the best you could be, not just for you, but for all of the folks that were involved in your life. And he lived that way. And then the other thing about Coach Bryant that was very evident, that he wasn't just a great football coach with X's and O's. He was very innovative. You know, he's the one that came up with a tearaway jersey. He was the one that was filming practice, and we were evaluating ourselves after practice. So innovative as far as the game of football as well. So I was just, like you said, I was blessed to play for him. I go to Miami, and Coach Shula was probably the most focused guy. Well, up to Saban, maybe.
He takes it to a new level.
Coach Saban is amazing, yeah. But the most focused guy, the most intense guy you've ever seen. And we started every season with one thing in mind, and that was winning a Super Bowl. Every year. It wasn't about getting to the playoffs. It wasn't a winning season. It was about getting to the Super Bowl. And I remember one year, it was 1984. It was Marino's second year. We came close to going undefeated again. And because of his mindset, same type of thing, you were always working to be the best you could be, and you had a goal, and you worked the goal. And now he was different in that was a job, and you were paid to do a job. So there was a different approach there from a professionalism point of view. He wasn't as involved in your life, but he cared, and I saw that later in life with both coaches. With Coach Bryant, because Coach Bryant would come down to South Florida and recruit before Snellenberger took over at Miami, and and I would, drive him around like his driver
Would you
back
really?
in the. Oh yeah, he'd tell me the stories, and it was just an amazing thing to play for both of those guys, and they were similar.
Our audience is made up of CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, folks with big dreams for business, just so you know. So the dream to play at a top school like the University of Alabama, there are very few folks every year who get there, right? That's a select group.
Right.
Even more select those who make it to the NFL, much less a legendary coach and a legendary football team at just such an incredible time to be there. When did that dream? When was that dream birthed in you to where you wanted to be there? You wanted to be at Alabama, or in the NFL.
In that meeting.
Really?
It was not before, and I was, I moved here as a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was not focused on playing ball long term or anything
Really?
like that. Oh yeah.
What were you going to do?
I don't know. I didn't have a plan. That was why I kind of got into trouble there, and wasn't a bad guy, and wasn't out partying and all that, but I did not have a plan for myself. So and you can be to me you can be a good person and have a good heart and so on and so forth, but if you don't have a plan for yourself, you're going to go so far, and that's probably going to be it. You got to have a plan, and you got to be willing to work the plan. It was that meeting with Coach Bryant that turned my light on, that made me appreciate him. Coach Donahue, before that meeting, I was not a fan of Coach Donahue. I wanted to hurt him, man. Right. He was tough.
Yeah, I sort of heard.
Yeah, and I grew to love that man.
Right.
I was just and that was from Coach Bryant, making me think a different way.
Yeah. See, whenever I look at, you are a prototype NFL player. What are you, 6'5"?
6'5".
So I would think it would be a no-brainer that a guy like you would end up playing ball. It's interesting that dream didn't hit you. So what do you think? Because I think when folks look at you, they think, well, he had all the talent, of course. Bob Baumhower is going to make it in the NFL. Look, he's a giant of a man. Why do you think you were successful in football?
Again, it goes back to that meeting. Because,
really? So it was attitude, you think?
Oh, yeah, the way I looked at things and the way, but when I went into that meeting, I thought I had all the answers. I thought everybody else I thought there were games being played. I had no idea what reality was as far as what it takes to be a winner or champion, or to be able to be on a team that has an opportunity to win a national championship, and I didn't think that way. And then when I was being pushed by Coach Donahue or anybody else, I thought, they're picking on me.
Right.
When they were being critical of me. I didn't know it was because they cared about me and thought I was capable of more. I thought it was just because they had it in for me. So you have to have a certain mindset, and so that when you receive things, and whether it's criticism or praise, if you're getting praised, you better be smart enough to know that you're only as good as what you did yesterday.
Right.
And you got to keep working. You never arrive. Mm-hmm. It's a journey. And it wasn't until that meeting that I really got it. Now, I come from good stock. My mom and dad were very good business people and so on and so forth. But up until that point, but neither one of them, we didn't have any athletics in our life.
Really?
We had nobody that was in competitive sports in our life with our family. So it was that meeting that really turned everything around for me.
Hey, David Lamb here. We'll get right back to the podcast. But first of all, a thanks to you for listening and being a part of this community. It means a lot. We love what we're doing, and thank you for joining us in it. Because of you, you're making it happen. And there are a couple of ways you can help us, if you don't mind me asking. First of all, if you would subscribe if you listen on iTunes, as well as leave a review. That's a great way to grow the podcast on that platform. Also, our Facebook community, just Blueprint Pod is where you'll find us there on Facebook. We release the podcast and the video from it on Monday. We have the bullet points on Wednesdays, 5-Question Friday. That we do that every Friday, so a great resource. And we're building a community of folks just like you, entrepreneurs, folks with big dreams, folks that are looking for help in achieving the life of their dreams. So join us there. That's how you can help grow and help us reach more people. The more people we can reach, the more people we can help. It's a win for everybody. All right, let's head back to the podcast. When did you think you wanted to start thinking about your post-playing career and want to become a restaurateur?
78, 79. Joe, lived in Fort Lauderdale, Joe Namath, and Richard Todd, who was my best bud at the time. Richard and I bought a condo in Joe's building in Fort Lauderdale. We were Joe wannabes. Yeah.
There were a lot of those.
Joe had a Eldorado convertible, so Richard bought a Eldorado convertible, then I bought an Eldorado. We were bad. We had it bad. But anyway, Joe, had a, remember Bachelor Street? He had a few restaurants called Bachelor Street. Yeah. They had all gone away, and our agent at the time, Jimmy Walsh, came up with the idea that since we're all in South Florida, Joe had retired Richard came to Fort Lauderdale during the off season after playing with the Jets during the season. Said, let's do another Bachelor's 3, and that's how I got in the restaurant business.
Right.
The wing thing came from a teammate of mine who just called me the other day, a guy named Steve Toll. He was a linebacker for the Dolphins. Asked me to go to lunch. Said, where are we going? He says, wings and things. I says, what do they serve there? He says, chicken wings. I thought he was crazy. I went to this wing joint in Fort Lauderdale, and it was owned by a guy from Buffalo, New York, who moved to South Florida and became a Dolphin fan. We hit it off. I said, this wing thing is crazy.
Right.
We need one in Tuscaloosa. So I opened one in Tuscaloosa in '81.
Is that the one on the Strip?
On the Strip,
Okay.
Wings and Things with Philip Weaver. And then that took off after a while. My brother Dave worked there for a little bit. And in '88, after I retired, I decided that was the thing for me, was to try to do this wing thing.
Right. How difficult is the restaurant business succeeding in this?
It's tougher than playing nose guard in the NFL. And nose
Right.
might be the toughest position in the NFL.
Yeah.
It is a challenge, big time. But we opened last night, and I saw folks that have worked for us back 20, 30 years ago. And then I saw guests last night that said, we've been waiting.
Right.
We love this location. That is so rewarding.
Yeah.
So it's just like playing ball. I mean, it's tough. And it's the other side of it, or the other part of it, is that failure to prepare is preparation for failure. If you're going to be in the restaurant business, you better prepare. You better do your homework. You better know your stuff. You better have systems. You better have a plan, like
Right.
Coach Bryant would say.
For you, what has you did something unique when you kind of got into this, because you kind of, I guess you owned the place on the Strip. I guess you were a part owner, but you really kind of went back to square one of wanting to understand every single thing about the business. I would see you in you would be in the kitchen. You'd be making the wings. You'd be doing it all.
I'm a head fry cook today on my card. Yeah.
Really?
And my son's working with me right now. Spencer is working with me right now, and I'm trying to teach him the same things. What happened is, Bachelor's 3 closed.
Okay.
It closed because we didn't pay enough attention to the details.
Okay.
So when I opened in Northport in 1988, and that was the Wings and Whiskers at the time with the catfish.
Yeah.
Everybody thought we were getting phone calls. Is this a pet store? So we had to change pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it came real evident to me that you have to know your stuff. It's like anything else. And I'll never forget, I had a good buddy of mine say, what are you doing? What do you know about the restaurant business? And I said, not much. I said, but it's not rocket science, and I'll learn it. So and that was tough, the trial and error. And we're still learning. You know, we're taking notes every day here at this opening, and we'll meet today a couple times about what we experienced yesterday. We'll talk about things that could be better, and we'll make adjustments, and that's pretty much our approach. We're always trying to get better.
All right. You've been around some incredible business people. Some of your friends just really are awesome business men and women and leaders. Who's a businessman, business person, a leader that really has, other than Coach Brian and Coach Shula, that's been influential in your life as CEO, as founder of this restaurant enterprise?
A guy named George Dockery.
Okay.
Mr. Dockery was my landlord in a couple places, and a guy named Johnny Plott. And they're both Tuscaloosa people.
All right.
I've had a lot of folks that have been strong influences on me. They were both focused in what they did, disciplined. They both were very, to me, they were very driven to be the best that they could be. Another guy that's helped me through the years is Alan Pizzatola. Alan played at Alabama. He has a company called Business Interiors. Alan does real high-end, nice business furniture packages for all the big companies. I've watched him come up through the ranks, where he worked for a business furniture company in Birmingham for a lot of years, and then he started Business Interiors. Extremely disciplined. Same as he played for Coach Bryant. Seems like he's always had a plan. Runs a really tight schedule. I take notes. I remember when I quit playing ball. I had this idea that I was really doing well and was ahead of the curve, and then I was spending some more time with Alan and met Mr. Dockery, and I said, man, I got a lot of catching up to do. Right. And through those kind of people, I've been helped by paying attention to what creates success for them. There's an old saying that success leaves footprints. It just depends on whether you want to follow or not.
Right.
Well, I'm a good company man, and I copy things real well. I'm a big copycat.
Yeah.
And football coaches do it too. I tell you, both Coach Shula and Brian, I know that we would do things that other teams had done, and usually when we did it, though, we did it better.
Yeah.
Whether it was Coach Brian or Shula or whatever.
Yeah. You've had many wins that a lot of folks know about. We've talked about some of them. What have been either the losses or the tough things that have happened that you've learned that have kind of left an impact on you? Coach Saban talks a lot about how he remembers every loss.
Right.
He just never can forget it.
Big time.
In business, a lot of our guests talk about a decision they wish they could go back and do over, but how valuable of a lesson that was for you as you look back on your restaurant career. What lessons did you have to learn the hard way?
Well, there's too many to mention. I mean, nobody's made more mistakes than me. Probably big picture wise, I went off on a couple different journeys in other restaurants, and a couple times they worked. I did a couple restaurants at the beach, Mangoes and Calypsos. They did really well. But I've gone in other directions a couple of times, and it didn't do well, or they didn't do well.
Right.
And to me, it's always better to keep things simple and stay focused. You can only do so much, and a lot of times genius is in the simplicity of what makes something work.
Right.
And so, most of my mistakes is that I've tried to do too much. Instead of staying within myself, you'll hear a coach you'll hear a coach say, play within yourself,
right.
Especially quarterback,
Yeah.
where maybe quarterback tries to do too much and forces a throw they shouldn't. Same thing in business. You gotta play within yourself and let your players be able to focus on things. One of the things I got from Coach Bryant, Coach Shula, is what we do is always going to be about people first.
Right.
And it's your folks that are playing the game. It's your folks that you're going to win with. That's the foundation of everything you do. If I'm all over the board and they find it hard to follow, it's going to be really frustrating on them and make their job a lot tougher. So most of the mistakes have made is where I've tried to do too much, or went in a direction other than what we really are good at,
Right.
And created distractions for ourselves.
Final question from me: when folks visit one of your restaurants and they leave, what do you want their memory to be of something you own? What do you want their takeaway to be after it's over?
Well, first of all our restaurants are more experience-related type places. You see all the TVs and stuff. I love to hear the stories of people that have been here to watch a game and they had such a good time, or they were here because of this event or that event. But what I want them to know more than anything else is that we care. And whether it's what we buy, and our burgers are ground chuck beef brisket and they're fresh. That's not by accident. It's a plan. All our chicken has always been fresh, always. We care, and we try to use local product, and then we take a lot of time to train our people. We have good systems. These meetings will be about adjusting our training materials. And I think most of the time, if people know you really care about them and that you appreciate that they made a choice to visit you, usually they're more forgiving if you're not 100%, and nobody's perfect.
Right.
So if they come in here and our folks do a good job letting them know that we care, I think that's probably the most important thing we can do.
Yeah. It's always good to see you, sir.
Yeah, man.
Congrats
Good to
on
see
the
you.
new place.
Thanks. We're we're excited.
Love it, love it, love
Yeah.
it. Bob Baumhower, appreciate you being with us. A couple of reminders as we wrap things up. You can check us out online, blueprintpod.com. Also, our Facebook community, just search Blueprint Pod, and you'll find us there on Facebook. A great way to keep up with us. Would love to hear from you and kind of keep up with this Blueprint community. We appreciate the time. We'll look for you next time here on the Blueprint Podcast.